The story starts by showing a little kid crying very hard, with text saying these kids are good children. Then, this scene shows this angelic child with another boy standing near a nun, who looks kindly at them. A group of children stands with an imposing man who declares that from today he will be their dad. This big man holds the child, saying that for their special parents, these children have received special education. When asked what this special education is, it is revealed that these children were raised to be weapons as soon as they could walk. The nun tells the crying girl, Ellie, that children who behave too much make their parents hate them, and she promises to keep that in mind. The nun then says it is time to train, looking very serious, and we see a hint of what this training involves. The children look on with wide, almost vacant eyes as the training begins with intense physical exertion. The nun gently wipes the girl's face, telling Ellie not to cry like that. The nun warns Ellie that children who behave too well might be hated by their parents, showing a chilling intensity in her eyes. Ellie quietly accepts the instruction, noting that this whole process is a kind of gifted education. Meanwhile, an older man watches the children from a window, explaining that they were raised to be weapons from walking age. He further explains they are nurtured under a special discipline officer, even though their training items cost a lot of money. When asked what these kids are used for, the man explains they are like computers, and their purpose depends on the buyer, their parents. The man shows a picture of a target, telling the child to memorize the face, but warns there are safety measures because these children are dangerous. These safety measures are called the 3 absolute principles, which are imprinted from a young age so they can never be defied. The first principle is that the parents' words are absolute, and the second is not to use power without the parents' permission. Suddenly, the child says a car is following them, and the man tells Sin to shut up and memorize the target. The boy confirms he received the order, and the narration confirms the first principle about the parents' words being absolute. The scene cuts to the car crash sequence, showing immense force as one car is destroyed and flipped over. One of the children is seen leaning over the now unconscious father, who is clearly injured, and the other men in suits are shocked. Men discuss what to do with the kid, deciding to throw him away rather than deal with him directly. The narration reveals the third and most important principle: if the parents' safety is threatened, they must ignore the first 2 rules and handle the situation. The scene shows the boy from the car, covered in blood, having clearly enacted the third principle on the attackers. The narration shifts back to the older man, who seems pleased, asking what people think of these children. He asks if anyone wants to purchase them, noting that if they cannot, it is unfortunate. Then he asks if they want to see their only defective product, who actually has the best skills among all the elites. The man says he cared a lot about this lost one, but doesn't know if he is still alive, as he can't use his power without permission. The scene shifts to a modern city street where a group of boys is hanging out, and one punches another hard, causing a huge score in some kind of system. Yaosef got a massive 180,000 points, and another boy named Park Seon looks upset that he only got the same score. Seon then tries to provoke Hyunho, saying he is better than him, and Yaosef steps in. Yaosef, who speaks English, smirks at Seon, saying that since Seon can't hit him, he can hit Seon back, and Seon seems shocked. Seon, feeling the punch, wonders about the score, and Yaosef asks what weight he can handle, joking about pounds. Yaosef then casually asks Seon to buy him menthol cigarettes, and Seon agrees, though he looks like he wants to fight Yaosef next time. Another boy, Hyunho, seems annoyed by the roughhousing and tells Yaosef he can't do this here, telling him to follow, implying trouble for Yaosef. Hyunho then asks Seon if he can have the same score, and Seon points towards a shop. Hyunho realizes the shop, Hyunho Snack Bar, is his mom's place, and his mom warmly greets them, calling them her son's friends and offering food. Seon realizes the shop is Hyunho's mom's, and Hyunho is embarrassed that his hidden life has been exposed to these guys. Seon says he should have greeted her properly, and Hyunho's mom is happy to meet his friends. Hyunho panics, telling his mom they have to leave, but she insists on packing them a lot of tteokbokki and fritters for free. The friends are thrilled about the free food, but Hyunho desperately begs his mom not to give it to Yaosef and the others. The mom ignores him, saying Hyunho's friends are like her own sons, and the friends thank her cheerfully, leaving Hyunho feeling doomed. Hyunho confronts Seon about telling his mom they were friends, saying he told him to pretend they didn't know each other. His mom apologizes for yelling, saying she was just happy to meet his friends, but Hyunho tells her to stop apologizing. The scene shifts to the group later, where Seon is showing off a bloody rag he found in his tteokbokki and demands a refund from Hyunho. Seon threatens to go straight to Hyunho's mom, claiming friendship, while Hyunho is getting visibly angry. Seon tries to play it off as a joke, but Hyunho snaps back, saying he is going to tell his mom everything. Yaosef steps in, telling Hyunho that his mom wants him to get along with his friends, and then forcefully confronts Hyunho. The narration skips ahead, describing Hyunho being beaten continuously for 15 minutes, fainting and regaining consciousness repeatedly. Each time Hyunho begged for forgiveness, the beating continued, and no one helped him. In the end, Hyunho stopped the violence himself, and the bullies then discuss a cover story, saying Hyunho was pushed while they were playing. The bully leader, Yaosef, explains he talked to his dad and found out about the juvenile offender law, but since he repeated a grade, he needs someone else to confess. He offers the others 10 million won each to go confess that Hyunho pushed them, saying there is a way around the civil lawsuit if no one files it. The group then heads towards Hyunho's apartment building, worried the elevator is slow, so they decide to take the stairs. They reach the 5th floor and find Park Se-yeon waiting, who tells the main aggressor, Yaosef, that he should come with them. Seon then asks Yaosef 2 questions, how he knew about Hyunho's mom's hidden snack bar and why they are there. Yaosef explains he got curious because Seon didn't buy the cigarettes he asked for, and then he saw them at the snack bar, realizing Hyunho was arguing with his mom because of Seon. Seon confirms he is the reason for the argument, and when asked why they are there, he says they are there to sue Hyunho's mom and sleep peacefully. Seon then reveals he knew Yaosef was only pretending to bully Hyunho to protect him all along, asking if Yaosef thought he was stupid. Yaosef tells everyone to leave, saying he needed to confirm things, and then violently attacks one of the remaining bullies with a fire extinguisher. The victim screams that his bone is broken, and the narrator recalls the 3 absolute principles imprinted on the children. The first 2 principles are recited: obey parents and don't use power without permission, but the focus shifts to the third. The third principle states that if the parent's safety is threatened, they must disregard the first 2 rules and handle the situation immediately. The boy fighting explains that Hyunho's mother said all his friends are like her own children, so threatening her means he can beat them to pulp, asking if they understand. The scene cuts to a fancy building where a director is being informed of a call from Korea by a nun. The director takes the call, and the caller is from Biko personnel, and the director confirms they have found what they were looking for. He states that the lost legend of the Dead Mansion, codenamed Sean, is in Korea. The story starts by introducing someone with the codename Sean, who was made by the Dead Mansion and considered their perfect masterpiece. This individual excelled in everything, including infiltration and weapon skills. Sean was also good at VIP assassination, truly a product that was excellent in every field. Because of this skill, Sean was supposed to be sent to one of their top clients, a Yakuza organization in Japan. However, there was a delivery mistake, right? Instead of Japan, the subject was sent to Korea, and this happened already 5 years ago. Back in the present, someone is reacting with disbelief, thinking they had given up on finding him, and now they found him again like this. A tense scene follows where an older man, clearly upset, commands someone to bring the person back by any means necessary. He demands that the order be understood, addressing someone named Rachel. Rachel confirms she understands and will start the retrieval operation immediately, noting they will use force if there is any resistance. The man warns Rachel to bring him back as unharmed as possible, but to leave the gun behind, as it is too much for the situation. The chapter title appears, marking the start of the Absolute Orders section. Kwon Byun-woo, who is Yaosef's father, bows deeply, apologizing profusely for failing to properly teach his son at home. He promises to pay all medical expenses and mental damages for Hyun-ho, offering any other compensation required. Hyun-ho's mother dismisses the apology, stating that nothing changes just because he apologizes, as this issue is not solvable with just words. The man says he understands, but since they don't want to settle, he sees no reason to waste more time, mentioning there are other ways. He asserts that dealing with this matter is his area of expertise while driving away in a fancy car. As they drive, one of the passengers comments on the awful smell of the area, questioning how they run a business there. The passenger suggests tearing it all down and building a modern complex instead, then asks about that kid they sent. The other person confirms that Secretary O went ahead and the kid should be finishing up and contacting them soon. Back at the hospital, someone reports that there was something strange about the kid they sent. The person being reported to is then asked if they know about the 3 engraved principles the kid was talking about. They wonder if it's some new trend among kids these days, but then someone interrupts, saying to stop. A person, likely the father, asks the doctor to leave them alone for just a moment. The father then menacingly asks the injured boy what makes him the most angry, saying he doesn't care about the bullying or that one kid jumped off a building. He explains that if the boy wanted to take care of things with a wrench, he shouldn't have left a mess behind. The father teaches a lesson, saying the basics of work is never doing something twice, and tells the boy to watch and learn how adults handle things. Someone yells to get the boy up. The adult tells the boy that things don't always go as planned, pointing out that even though he knocked down 4 peers, it's different with adults. He states that because of the boy, the young master got humiliated, so the boy needs to reflect on that. The boy is lifted up, seemingly in pain, as the man continues his lesson on how adults handle things. The boy internally notes that these guys can't even tell a dislocated joint from a broken one, and this is nothing compared to Aunt Rachel's beatings. He finds this whole situation bothersome, thinking that because of the 3 principles, he can't use his strength without orders. However, he believes what he's doing should be enough to calm things down a bit, or else he might need a new identity, which would be annoying. Then, someone approaches him, saying, "But why do you look like that?" and calling him speaking of troublesome. The mother figure says, "Sion, don't be shy. Annie made plenty of food, so eat a lot." The boy acknowledges the command to eat a lot, perceiving Hyun-ho's mother as his own parent. The auntie cautions him about getting indigestion from eating too fast and tells him to drink water. The boy thanks her for the meal, and the auntie expresses happiness at seeing him after so long, asking how Hyun-ho is. She happily reports that Hyun-ho's surgery went well and they just need to monitor his recovery, saying that Hyun-ho is strong. The auntie then sadly reflects that she can't be the same, as her son ended up like that, and she couldn't do anything. She cries out that she wanted to destroy everything, just like how she feels inside, wanting to tear and crush that father too. The scene shifts to a business meeting where someone concludes the 3rd quarter results for Manhwa Construction. The speaker thanks everyone for their hard work this quarter. He mentions that thanks to everyone's efforts, the construction company has come this far, even after the parent company, Jaeon Construction, went bankrupt due to their unyielding determination. During the meeting, someone offers the speaker more wine, which he accepts. Suddenly, chaos erupts as someone shouts about a brat and wonders how the blonde kid dodged so well. People are yelling to turn on the lights and to find that blonde-haired kid, convinced he couldn't have gone far and is still in there. The man holds a glass of wine, seemingly unfazed, and mentions the good children of Dead Mansion. The narration reminds the audience of the first principle: a parent's words are absolute. The focus shifts to the young man, Sion, who thinks about how he wanted to tear and crush the father too. Someone yells about the brat and notes that he definitely broke an arm this time, deciding to do it properly. The man says, "Watch closely. This is how you break an arm." The perspective changes to the blonde kid who is being confronted by the man with the gun. Man notes that from that distance, it's hard to hit unless you are a professional. He asks the kid if he is a pro, mentioning he heard Korean kids have something called a crew. The kid replies that he doesn't really know about that, and if he belonged to a group, it would be Hyun-ho Snacks, I guess. Man scoffs at the mention of the smelly alleyway junk food store and asks what the lady told him to do, specifically asking if she told him to kill him. The kid confirms she told him to tear and crush you, mentioning the first principle: a parent's absolute command. He then recalls the second part: work efficiency is important, don't do things twice. The boy reflects that he should have taken care of that lady and him back then, adding, "Next time kill." The man asks why he is saying such unnecessary things, bringing up the 3rd principle: if there is a threat to a parent's safety, resolve the situation. The scene cuts to the hospital where the boy's mother is looking at him with concern. She asks him why he looks like that, and he replies, "Ah, hello." He's seen eating vigorously, and the mother tells him not to be shy and to eat a lot since she made plenty. The boy recognizes her as his parent, and she warns him about indigestion, telling him to drink water. The boy says thank you for the meal, and she says seeing him after so long makes her happy, asking about Hyun-ho. The auntie happily says Hyun-ho is fine, the surgery went well, and he just needs monitoring because he is strong. She then expresses that she guesses she can't do the same, as her son ended up like that and she couldn't do anything. She cries out that she wanted to destroy everything, just like how she feels inside, wanting to tear and crush that father too. The boy looks down, and the mother apologizes, saying he shouldn't see her like this. The scene shifts to a corporate setting where a man announces the conclusion of Manhwa Construction's 3rd quarter results. He thanks everyone for their hard work this quarter, noting that despite the bankruptcy of their parent company, Jaeon Construction, their determination carried them forward. A waiter offers the main speaker more wine, and he agrees, lifting his glass in a toast. The blonde kid, Xian, suddenly bursts into action, attacking the group with incredible speed and breaking glasses. A man yells about the brat and how he dodged so well, while others start yelling to find that blonde kid. The speaker with the one remarks on the blonde hair and asks kid, then remembers the good children of Dead Mansion. The scene emphasizes the first principle, a parent's words are absolute, as Xian fights fiercely. Xian recalls his desire to tear and crush the father figure, while one of the attackers screams about his ankle being broken. Someone shouts, "Over there!" as Xian injures another attacker. The attacker who got hit screams in pain. Xian is seen standing over a defeated man, saying, "The kid dodged it, impressive." The man in glasses putting on his gloves states, "But that arm I definitely broke it, didn't I?" and prepares to act again. He tells Xian, "This time, I'll have to do it properly," and prepares to break his arm, saying, "Watch closely. This is how you break an arm." Xian counters the attack, forcing the man to cry out in pain. The man acknowledges the dodge but emphasizes he broke the arm, while Xian is shown taking out another attacker with a sharp object. The man with the gun from earlier observes the situation and Xian questions him, "I didn't hit." The man with the gun asks if Xian is a pro, knowing he dodged well from that distance. He asks if Xian is part of a crew, as he heard Korean kids have those. Xian replies that if he belonged to a group, it would be Hyunho Snacks. The man recognizes the name as the smelly junk food store and realizes the connection, stating, "Now I get it." He then demands to know what the lady told him to do, asking if she told him to kill him. Xian calmly states, "No. She told me to tear and crush you," referring to the first principle of a parent's absolute command. The man with the gun is shocked, and Xian follows up with the second principle about work efficiency and not doing things twice. Xian says he should have taken care of that lady and him back then, promising to kill all of them next time. The man with the gun asks why he's saying unnecessary things, bringing up the third principle about resolving any threat to a parent's safety. He then mocks them, saying, "Like father, like son, both of you are the same." The scene abruptly changes to a hospital room where a nurse asks the patient if he is feeling uncomfortable. The patient responds aggressively, "Can't you see? Damn it," adding that he heard school violence gets scary these days. The nurse notes she's never seen anyone as badly hurt as him before, suggesting the kid who hit him must be really good at fighting. The nurse then says this is too much, and the patient agrees it hurts a lot. The patient asks the nurse about the three principles he mentioned to his father earlier. He then points to the Roman 4 bag, asking what that medicine is and noting the color looks weird. The nurse tells him not to worry, assuring him that as long as she only puts in half, he won't die, then demands an answer about the absolute three principles. The injured boy replies that he doesn't know what that is. The nurse insists he mentioned it to his dad earlier, threatening to change the question if he doesn't answer. She then asks if he knows a kid named Sean. The final section displays information about Rachel, the Dead Mansion's disciplinarian, whose specialties include disguise, infiltration, interrogation, and torture. The director got a call saying there was a problem, and the person on the line reported about codename Sean. The agent reported that they tracked Sean to a place, but he was already gone when they arrived. The person on the phone was shocked to hear that force was used, asking for clarification on what that meant. The agent confirmed that many seriously injured adult men were left at the scene after Sean left. Even though it was Sean, the agent noted it should have been impossible because of the three absolute principles. The director was very upset, stating that this had never happened in the history of their Dead Mansion, making the situation very serious. He mentioned that since Sean seemed to be breaking the three absolute principles, something must be terribly wrong, and he then said the name Rachel. The director thought about the weapons they sold at the Dead Mansion and the possibility that someone might ignore their commands. He then told Rachel that they needed to change their objective and focus on Sean first. The director instructed Rachel to investigate Sean closely and confirm if he really used force without permission. He also gave her an instruction to contact the White Tiger workforce if she needed any support in Korea. The scene then shifts to two men looking at the destruction, asking how a middle schooler could have done all of this. One of the men complained that sorting this mess out was going to be a huge headache. The other man confirmed that they found the smoker and the barcode head and that he would start observing the subject after leaving the scene. The first man asked for clarification on barcode, wondering what clothes kids today call that. Another person mentioned that the girl involved was Russian and open-minded, leading someone else to reflect that his wife was also open-minded. Someone then asked if their manager was still in menopause, to which the answer was that the boss gave him other work to do. The chapter title appears, indicating the start of a new section, 2. There's no way I am Sean. The scene changes to his school building as the focus shifts to Sean. A voice stated that they have already finished their preliminary investigation on Sean. The investigation revealed that Sean attends this middle school and his parents are supposedly abroad. However, the investigators discovered that these parents are actually unidentified fake parents. As Sean greets a teacher in the hallway, the investigator confronts codename Sean, asking what he is doing there and vows to dig up everything about him. A woman with dark hair smiles creepily, saying she is looking forward to what will be dug up. She reminisces about Sean, recalling how he was the best child she ever taught at the Dead Mansion, showing a flashback of a nun-like figure with young children. She recalled that Sean wielded every weapon she taught him perfectly and couldn't believe he grew independent of a mission. The focus returns to the present, where someone confirms they are in Sean's classroom. Inside the classroom, a heated argument is happening, with someone yelling that Kwon Joseph was responsible for something and another person apologizing to Sean for it being their fault. The observing woman is shocked, asking if that vulgar child is really Sean. The same woman reacts with disbelief that the vulgar child could be Sean, prompting a man to recall telling Joseph not to act cocky or he would die. Sean then dismisses the man by calling him noisy and swearing at him, telling him to just let him sleep. Sean's opponent, a large man, is shocked by Sean's language and asks what he just said. The observer wonders if this is a hierarchical fight, something that also happened at the Dead Mansion. She remembers these fights were to establish a hierarchy of strength and found it adorable when they tried to fight her. She recalls that in every fight, Sean always came out as the strongest, which makes her suddenly question what is happening now. The observer panics, saying wait, I'm sorry, as she sees the large man on the ground. The student who hit the man screams in pain, saying oh, you hit my bones, as the observer looks on intensely. The observing woman has a strange, somewhat satisfied look on her face below the scene of the fight. She then shifts her focus, saying, all right, shall we look at the next paragraph? Realizing they are in a school, she notes that the narrator is present and reminds herself that one cannot carelessly show off strength when trying to hide their identity. This makes her wonder if Sean is still under the influence of the three principles. She decides she must observe a bit longer, noticing Sean's intense focus while writing. The observer is struck by his focused gaze, feeling a rush as Sean is intensely concentrating on writing something. She realizes that this focus proves he is indeed Sean, remembering that at the Dead Mansion, the good kids were not only strong but also intelligent. She states that Sean was always the most outstanding child, and while he can hide his power, he cannot hide his brilliance. She sighs, finding it troublesome that he doesn't conceal himself better, and thinks she should teach him when she gets the chance. A sudden interruption occurs as someone yells at Sean for what he is doing in class, which is shown through a silly drawing on his desk. Sean seems momentarily distracted and makes a small sound as the girl next to him looks on, slightly flustered. The girl yells at him, asking what he's doing right now because they are in class, causing Sean to slam his pen down. The observer is left in deep thought, seeing the school environment contrasting sharply with what she knows of Sean. The scene shifts to the observer in a staff washroom, looking distressed while sitting on a toilet. She questions if Sean is truly still Sean, thinking there is no way her Sean became such a stupid child. She struggles internally, sensing something familiar in his face but unable to fully reconcile it with the child she knew. She admits she can't sense any elegance in him, wondering if the whole situation could be a coincidence. She concludes that such an immature kid cannot be Sean, deciding on a change of plan. The observer stands up decisively, realizing this is no longer about protecting the three absolute principles. She decides her first priority is to confirm if he is truly codenamed Sean, as she rushes out of the washroom. Outside, Sean is hit by a female student and winces in pain, thinking that teacher usually doesn't hit that hard. Female student warns him that if he is not Sean, he will die by her hands, as Sean realizes the person who hit him is Sean. Sean calls out for Sean as she walks away, but then sees Hyunho's mom approaching. Hyunho's mom happily greets Sean, saying she came at the perfect time. She asks Sean to help carry her heavy bags, which Sean readily agrees to do. Hyunho's mom also tells Sean to eat some tteokbokki, and Sean thankfully accepts the food. As Sean eats, the observer wonders about the identity of the old woman. The observer recalls hearing from Joseph that this old woman's son was put into a coma by Joseph. She then wonders about Sean's relationship with the old woman, as Sean is seen eating very vulgarly. The observer thinks Sean is getting more vulgar the closer she looks and states that she is definitely not Sean. She questions how someone with Sean's face could look so vulgar, especially when Shin screams about the food being spicy. Shin, struggling with the spice, yells for water and the old woman promptly brings her a drink. The old woman notes Shin can't handle spice well, which shocks Shin, who calls it torture and wonders if Koreans are crazy for eating it. Shin thinks the spicy food should be considered poison or even an assassination attempt, but the old woman tells her she should have eaten slowly because she is clumsy. Shin internally vows to kill the person who made her endure this, realizing that Sean also couldn't handle spicy food back then. She remembers holding Sean's hand tightly and worries he must be having a rough time still in Korea. The observer watches Shin being told off for eating everything served, as Shin suddenly pauses, remembering a past event. She flashes back to the moment the old woman asked for help carrying bags and offered tteokbokki, which Shin accepted. The observer realizes that Shin obeys everything this woman says, unlike Sean. She realizes that while it was impossible for Sean to do things without a command due to the 3 absolute principles, it's possible someone ordered him to destroy Manhwa construction. The observer concludes that the only person who could order Sean is this woman, referencing the dead mansion's first principle, the parent's words are absolute. She assumes Shin recognizes the old woman as a parent and listens to her orders, which makes everything fit perfectly. The observer then asks for the bill, and the old woman says she will find some change. The observer says, "Let's see the change is," and then thinks there is a simple way to verify this suspicion. The observer suddenly moves very quickly, startling the old woman, and she is glad the observer didn't take the change. This action seems to trigger the memory of the dead mansion's 3rd principle. If there's a threat to a parent's safety, ignore the principles and resolve the situation. The observer throws the money onto the counter and attacks the old woman with a fork, as Shin is caught off guard. Sean intervenes, jumping in front of Shin to block the attack, which shocks the observer, who says, as expected. The observer attacks Sean, who is knocked back, and the old woman is startled by the commotion. Someone asks if Shin is okay, and the observer says, "You didn't take your change," referring to the 3rd principle. The observer realizes that if there is a threat to a parent's safety, one must ignore the principles and resolve the situation. The fight begins between Shin and Sean, with Shin telling him to just get it over with. The observer demands to know if Sean is planning to follow her around all day. The scene ends with Sean yelling Rachel, as he and the girl face off intensely, suggesting a deep history between them. The final shot shows the observer smiling chillingly, confirming that the person she was confronting was indeed Sean, saying, "It's been a while." Someone dramatically tells another person to stop what they are doing while grabbing a stick or chopstick with a clenched fist. The person is then aggressively asked if they plan to follow someone around all day. The confrontation intensifies as the boy, Sean, shouts the name Rachel, and both characters face each other with very serious, almost angry expressions. Rachel looks at Sean with a menacing, happy grin, confirming that it was indeed him she found. Rachel greets Sean, saying it has been a long time, but she still finds something strange about the situation. Rachel questions Sean about why he is following the old woman from the snack shop as if she were his parent, suggesting that a shabby snack shop owner could not possibly be a client of the dead mansion. Sean looks serious and denies knowing what Rachel is talking about, even though he admits he caused a big fuss but did not expect to be found so quickly. As Sean tries to move, Rachel swiftly grabs him, telling him that regardless of the situation, many clients are waiting for him back at the mansion. Rachel uses a quick move, lifting and throwing Sean forcefully through the air. Sean crashes hard onto the ground after being thrown by Rachel. Sean groans in pain while Rachel stands over him, telling him it is time to go back, as many clients are waiting. Rachel insists that Sean needs to return to where the clients are waiting for him. Sean seems to resist the order to go back as he looks up at Rachel with a concerned expression. Sean looks away, muttering about going back, as the scene shifts to show several bodies lying on the ground in what looks like a dark, confined space. A small, dark-clothed person stands among the fallen bodies, while Sean experiences a flash of memory involving someone named Park Shin, possibly linked to that time. The memory deepens, showing a shadowy figure, and a voice states that Park Shin is his name from now on, suggesting a change in identity or status. Sean is clearly shaken by the memory, wondering what that was as he looks up at Rachel again. Rachel intently asks Sean what he just said, her expression showing suspicion. Rachel immediately strikes Sean hard on the face or head. Sean stumbles back in pain from the hit. Rachel, with blood on her face, coldly tells Sean that if he is not going to come back quietly, things will have to change. Rachel wipes some blood from her face, looking determined and angry. Rachel looks down at the scene, muttering damn it as Sean escapes. Rachel watches Sean running away from a high vantage point, realizing that they sent Rachel, and wonders who is in this situation. A shadowy, distressed figure flashes in Sean's mind, making him question things further. Sean wonders again about the memory as the chapter title appears in bold red letters. The chapter title, 4, Return to Dead Mansion, is displayed before the scene shifts to a dark, imposing building with a cross on top, possibly the Dead Mansion. Back in the mansion, an older man with glasses angrily questions someone on the phone, demanding to know what they mean by losing him. The person on the phone apologizes, and then a scene shows Rachel rushing downstairs, bumping into others who seem to be students. The person on the phone explains that they let their guard down for a moment, but they found the old woman who was controlling Sean with the 3 principles. The scene then shifts to Rachel, who is now changing or getting ready. Someone yells, "Hey!" as Rachel, looking intense and bruised, is shown, and the concept of controlling him is brought up. The person on the phone tells Rachel that based on observation, Sean seems to see the old woman as his parent, meaning he is following her words. The scene shows the director listening intently in a fancy office. The director questions if it's possible that the old woman is intentionally using the 3 principles, while a hand grips something tightly. The director tells Rachel he needs more confirmation but that it doesn't look intentional, then instructs her to check on the old woman first. Rachel finds the old woman, who is furious about someone cutting in line, prompting Rachel to recall that the woman was young once. The older man from the phone call, now revealed as part of Rachel's group, observes the situation, noting the 2 ways to retrieve a good child from their parents. The focus shifts to the director stating the first way to retrieve a good child from their parents is. The director's thought continues to the old woman, whom he instructs to feel the guilt for daring to be Sean's parent. The first method requires making the parent willingly give up ownership of the child. The director, addressing the old woman, states that even though Sean listens to her, she must take responsibility as an adult. The director tells the old woman that if Sean comes back, she must order him to return to the dead mansion. The director instructs her to tell Sean, "Never come here again," and go back home with confidence, and then prepares to leave. The old woman firmly refuses to do what the director demanded, pointing out that the director mentioned being away on business trips often. The old woman confronts the director, asking if he has really looked at Sean's face and knows about his school life, saying he always has messy clothes and a dirty face from falling. She recalls her own son, Hyunho, saying the same thing about falling, and she couldn't let Sean end up like that, so she started looking after him whenever she could. The old woman declares that Sean needs a parent to watch over him right now and that she cannot let him end up like her Hyunho, offering to watch him herself if the other is too busy. The director reacts angrily to the old woman's declaration, claiming she has no right to watch over him. The old woman apologizes but states she cannot comply with the earlier request, while the director looks visibly annoyed. The director's superior reports that the first attempt failed because the old woman was too stubborn about her ownership. The superior says it can't be helped, as he preferred a quiet resolution, and authorizes proceeding with the second method. The second way to retrieve a good child from their parents is stated: in case of the parent's death, the child returns to the dead mansion. The order is given to target the old woman, and the superior says, "I'll get rid of her." The scene shifts to a convenience store where the old woman is shopping, while an assassin, Rachel, appears holding a detonator. Rachel questions the old woman's audacity for trying to take Sean and prepares to use the detonator, which she says she saw in a game and decided to try. Sean appears, warning Rachel not to interfere, saying he will free her from that old woman, but Rachel insists she can't let that happen. Rachel points out that Sean knows about the 3rd principle without her saying anything. Rachel sighs, saying she wanted to take him back unharmed, but now she cannot let him leave without getting hurt. Sean challenges her, asking if she thinks she can take him down. Rachel reminds Sean of a lesson: fighting should be a means to an end, calling this a supplementary lesson and asking him the purpose of the fight. The scene cuts to the aftermath of a fight, with a young boy crying, unable to see his mom in the chaos and dust. The old woman tries to comfort the crying child, but he keeps crying, saying he can't see his mom and doesn't know where she is. The little boy begs for help while crying intensely, looking up with wide, teary eyes. The old woman looks at the boy, then down at a knife in her hand, seemingly ready to take action in response to the child's distress. Sean was in a tough spot, with someone telling him it was time for extra lessons. He asked what the point of the fight even was. The person fighting him, Rachel, seemed ready to attack again, standing over him with a knife. Sean wondered what the point was before getting hit. As the fight went on, Sean was clearly struggling against Rachel's attacks. He got hit hard again. Rachel kept attacking, but Sean managed to move and used the surroundings to defend himself against her knife. They continued their fast-paced fight with quick movements and blocks against the blades. Sean questioned if this was all part of a plan, while Rachel confirmed it was a plan to set him free. Rachel explained that the whole fight was a plan to get him released. Sean looked up, wondering if this meant he could finally be free. Rachel warned Sean not to get distracted in the middle of a fight, just as she struck him. Rachel pressed her attack, the blade flashing towards Sean's face. Sean realized that fighting Rachel with just his bare hands was too difficult. During the exchange, Sean threw something, maybe a can, which exploded near Rachel, causing chaos. Rachel revealed the goal. If they took care of the old woman, Sean would go back under the dead mansion's control because they considered the kids their products. Sean reacted with shock at being called a product, and Rachel then tried to pull him away, saying they should go home together. Sean, reacting to the flower bomb he threw earlier, got covered, and Rachel's knife came close to the bag. The flower exploded, completely surrounding Rachel in a white cloud as she attacked again. Rachel disappeared into the thick cloud of dust and powder. Rachel coughed, realizing that the substance Sean had used against her was flour. Sean quickly counterattacked when Rachel seemed momentarily stunned. The fight continued with both exchanging blows, Sean using his hands and perhaps small objects. In the midst of the struggle, Sean managed to grab Rachel. Rachel was clearly surprised by Sean's strength and tenacity. Knowing this was the real Sean, Rachel tried to use scissors as a weapon, but it didn't seem to work as planned. Rachel realized that Sean wasn't moving or yielding at all. Sean then directly challenged Rachel, asking if she called them products. Sean quickly grabbed Rachel and flung her, sending her tumbling. Rachel ended up inside a shopping cart after being thrown by Sean. Rachel was stuck in the cart, realizing she was in trouble, and wondered about the place where Sean's family was waiting. Sean pointed out that calling one's own family products was strange, and questioned who did that. Sean continued his questioning about the term products while continuing to manipulate the shopping carts. Sean forcefully used the shopping carts, trapping Rachel inside one of them. The shopping cart was violently crushed or affected by the force of the fight. Sean asked Rachel if she wasn't more of a product than they were, as he walked away, leaving Rachel trapped in a cart while someone yelled his name. Rachel remained trapped in the shopping cart, screaming for Sean. Outside the fight zone, an old woman rushed towards a small boy who was holding a knife, crying out in alarm. The old woman checked if the boy was okay and asked if his parents were around. The boy looked up, recognizing someone running toward them, and called out for his mother, asking if she was alright. The adult woman scolded the boy, asking why his clothes were messy and if he got hurt again. The adult woman recognized Sean by his face, calling him the legend of the dead mansion. The woman noted that since Sean was there, trainer Rachel must have been beaten. Someone asked who the other boy was, and they decided to take him away first since he said he lost his mom, and then asked the boy for his parents' phone number. The little boy sadly admitted he didn't know his parents' phone number. One person thought engaging with Sean was too risky and they should stick to the original target, while the boy pleaded with a woman to help him find his mom. The woman decided to use her motherly instinct to get close to her target again, touching Sean's hand reassuringly. Sean sweetly picked up the crying child, telling him not to cry. Sean whispered to the child, reminding him about the rule that dumb-looking kids get hated. The child looked scared as someone silently pointed a gun at them, telling him to stay still. Sean told the boy he needed to talk to the director, asking if the boy still had the direct line, to which the boy replied he lost it long ago. The boy, Sean, tried to say he didn't know what Sean was talking about, while Sean pointed out the danger of holding a knife. Sean pointed out the knife the small boy was holding, which fell to the ground. The adults in the background seemed confused, one asking if the other heard something, but the other said no, thinking the child fell asleep. One person wondered where the child's mother was, and another noticed the child had a phone and decided to call someone. The scene shifted to show firefighters taking away the young boy, while someone else was thinking about calling the director. The chapter title appeared, 5. Breaking through the current situation as the scene transitioned to a dark, imposing building. A phone rang loudly inside a grand, dark room where a heavily tattooed man was lying down. The tattooed man woke up annoyed, asking who was calling so early and remembering he told people not to use the direct line. The man stood up, revealing his massive, tattooed physique, dismissing the early call. The tattooed man answered the old-fashioned phone, calmly saying yes and then addressing the caller as director. The director on the other end recognized the voice, exclaiming that it was Sean. Sean, on the phone, asked the director why he was calling through that specific number. Sean mentioned that the director had sent a huge present and asked if he really thought Rachel and a kid could catch him. The director reacted with surprise, realizing that both Rachel and Eugene had lost. Sean confidently told the director that no matter how many people he sent, the result would be the same. Sean told the director he could keep trying, and when the director suggested he might run, Sean said that wasn't funny and asked if the director planned to fight the dead mansion head-on. Sean referenced the third principle: if the parent's safety is threatened, ignore other rules and resolve the situation. Sean declared that according to the third principle, he considered the dead mansion a threat and would break through the current situation. The director seemed impressed by Sean's faithfulness to the principles, kneeling down in his room. The director expressed delight, calling the situation a beautiful present from Sean. The director then proposed a deal: send Eugene back, and they wouldn't touch the old woman, telling Sean to have Rachel come herself after 1 hour. The director agreed not to touch the old woman if Eugene was sent back. The scene jumped forward 1 hour, showing Sean standing outside a room where the small boy, Shin, was asleep at a table, and Sean told someone to tell Rachel to come herself. The director looked intensely at the phone receiver, murmuring that Sean was surprisingly pure. The director, kneeling, said they should reunite soon, calling Sean his treasure. Sean woke up the little boy by tapping his head and told him to wake up. The boy woke up, and Sean told him not to bother looking for the knife because he took it long ago, telling him to just sit quietly and eat. Sean asked the boy if he hadn't eaten anything, but the boy grimaced, thinking, who the hell would eat this stuff? The boy just stared at the plate of food, looking clearly unhappy with it. Sean then claimed the boy ate everything, while the boy in a small voice admitted it was good, right? The boy quietly ate the food, and Sean said, "Yeah, sure. You ate everything," while looking at the boy eating. Sean pointed out someone coming, saying, "Oh, there she is." Rachel appeared, standing confidently on a set of stairs in the dark setting. Rachel looked at Sean and called out Eugene. Rachel told the little boy to come to her, and the boy, Shin, meekly agreed. Shin walked up the stairs towards Rachel, while Sean, holding a bag, watched them. Sean told Rachel to take the bag, saying the kid seemed to like what was inside, showing a small smile. Rachel looked at Sean, sounding slightly unconvinced, asking if he was really relaxed and saying she hadn't given up on him yet. Rachel told Sean she would visit him again soon, as she held Shin's hand and walked away. Rachel commented that the kid should be eating more food at his age, while looking back at Sean, who was walking away alone. Rachel told Sean that things would have been easier if he had just taken care of the old woman, and that from now on, he would be disposed of. The little boy looked shocked at Rachel's harsh words about getting rid of useless kids a long time ago. The boy seemed to be apologizing or distressed as Sean held him back slightly. Sean called the boy, saying he would ask him one last time. Sean asked the boy if the food really didn't taste good. The boy started crying, stammering that it was. The boy cried out that it was good. The boy clarified, crying, that Hyunho's place was really good, as Rachel and Sean looked on. Sean then smiled confidently and told the boy that they should go back to Hyunho's snack shop. The ownership rights for the children of the dead mansion belong to the parents who buy them. But the story has a twist: if the parents die, the ownership goes back to the dead mansion. This system means the child, Eugene, keeps getting passed around, which is a major problem for the organization. A stern-looking woman approaches the young Eugene, announcing a change in his life. She tells Eugene that from today onwards she will be his mother, but Eugene replies with a simple, resigned acceptance. This signals that the child is being readopted and sent to yet another new family. The cycle repeats: readopted, sent to a new family, and then to another one. The narration questions how many times this has happened already, showing images of failed families along the way. An older man, likely in charge, addresses Eugene, asking how many times this has happened. Eugene reveals it is the 4th time, holding up 4 fingers, but the man dismisses this as a rhetorical question. The man explains that while they could keep profiting by sending Eugene to new families, he has already failed to protect his parents 4 times. This failure is called the worst disgrace in the history of their dead mansion, and the man warns Eugene of serious consequences. If Eugene continues this way, they will have no choice but to dispose of him, which Eugene seems to understand with a chilling look. The man points towards a graveyard filled with tombstones, asking Eugene if he knows what happens to disposed children. The man then gives Eugene an ultimatum: he needs to become useful, and his opportunity is to go to Korea to help Rachel bring back Sean. The stern warning concludes with Eugene being told he will be disposed of immediately if he doesn't prove his value by completing this test. Someone else voices frustration that useless kids weren't gotten rid of earlier, while Eugene internally pleads for one more chance to prove himself. A different person, likely Rachel, questions Eugene's plea for another chance, grabbing him roughly. Eugene desperately asks for one last chance while the person holding him seems displeased. The person asks Eugene about the tteokbokki he ate, giving him this final chance to answer truthfully. Eugene, crying, confirms that the tteokbokki was delicious, which seems to be the key to his immediate survival. Promises that this time he will kill Sean's parent, who is an old woman, to prove his worth one last time. The chapter title or segment marker appears. 6. Disposal. Scene shifts to Sean, who realizes he must take Eugene back because Sean still sees him as a threat, meaning the third principle applies. Sean confronts Rachel, reminding her of their deal: hand over Eugene, and they won't target the old woman. Rachel points out that Eugene just admitted the food was delicious, which seems to complicate things because the kid has been a regular with them for a while. Sean is clearly unhappy with this turn, telling Rachel that if she sticks to this path, the deal is off, and he will go after the old woman again. Rachel challenges Sean, telling him to go ahead with his threat, emphasizing that this is his last chance. Sean simply tells her to do as you please, while the background character threatens to beat Eugene up over and over again. The scene shifts to a different setting where Sean tells someone he has to take the kid back, looking confidently at Rachel. Rachel, holding Eugene close, knows Sean perceives her as a threat, and thus their prior agreement might be voided. Rachel reminds Sean of their deal: they hand over Eugene, and she won't target the old woman. Sean confirms the deal but points out Eugene's declaration that the food was delicious, implying a shift in loyalty or feeling. Sean says since Eugene is a regular customer now, he can't just abandon him, leading Rachel to ask if this is how they will proceed. Rachel tells Eugene to go ahead, stating this is his last chance, and if he doesn't comply, the deal is off and she will target the old woman. Sean says, do as you please, while preparing to fight again, saying he will just beat him up repeatedly. Eugene is grabbed by the hand, looking shocked as Sean looks determined. Sean affirms that is what he said, and the focus shifts to a conversation about Eugene staying over. Someone mentions that likely Sean's nickname said he would take care of the kid for a day, but staying at their house is a bit much. Another person reassures them it's fine, asking if they can cook properly themselves and adding that it won't be boring for them either. The person also finds it fascinating that this kid's mom is a friend of the other mother, noting they are both named Rachel. Eugene is told he might as well stay over since no one is home, but he politely refuses, saying it is not necessary. Eugene thanks the auntie and excuses himself, thinking he cannot miss this opportunity. He is overwhelmed by the situation, and the auntie asks for his name, which he states is Eugene. Eugene finds the situation too much as he realizes this is the first time he has been inside such a place. He asks if the room visible is Hyunho's room, and when confirmed, he seems lost in thought about it. Eugene reflects that Hyunho's room was ordinary, the kind seen in dramas, full of everyday life, normal dreams, and a happy family. He thinks that maybe because he longed for it so much he can't truly grasp it. Hyunho should be in that room, living happily. Eugene feels guilt, thinking he shouldn't have just stood by, as he remembers the family photo. After the meal, Eugene thanks the auntie, saying the omelet was the best food he ever had, and asks a few questions now that Sean is gone. Eugene asks the auntie if she has any other family besides her son, like a husband. The auntie pauses, saying she has to explain, and mentions Hyunho's father was needed by the heavens. She sadly says she had to let him go, and when Eugene suggests he became a family member over there, she agrees it is a lovely way to put it. However, she contrasts this by saying Eugene couldn't become part of a family anywhere. Eugene questions what she means, but the auntie explains that a family is where you constantly prove your worth to every member. If one doesn't prove their worth, they are just a hindrance consuming resources, which Eugene repeats, horrified. The auntie yells that is not what a family is like, as Eugene looks distressed. The auntie asks if he finished eating and suggests he sleep in Hyunho's empty room instead of the living room sofa. Sean, who was initially set to sleep on the sofa, is shocked that the auntie made him sleep on the floor. Lying on the floor, Eugene thinks the old woman is strange for calling such a useless kid her family and treating a stranger like him kindly. He remembers the warning, you need to become someone useful, and the assertion that a useless child cannot be anyone's family. Eugene screams internally that that's not what family is, and when asked what it is, he concludes he must prove himself. He realizes he has to become a family member that someone needs, ending this part of the internal struggle. The scene shifts back to the confrontation between Sean and Rachel over Eugene. Rachel is determined to keep Eugene, reminding Sean that Eugene said the tteokbokki was delicious, implying Eugene chose their side. Sean asks if that's how she is going to be, telling Eugene to go ahead, as this is his last chance. Rachel warns that if Eugene doesn't comply, the deal is off and she will go after the old woman again, asking Sean if he understands. Sean replies, "Do as you please," while physically restraining Eugene, threatening to beat him up again and again. Sean maintains his position, stating that is what he said, and asks why they are still there if they are breaking the deal. The auntie holds up food, reminding Sean he said he would take care of the kid for a day. Sean admits staying at their house is a bit much, but the auntie insists it's fine since they can't cook properly themselves and she won't be bored. She finds it fascinating that this kid's mom is Rachel, who is friends with the other Rachel. Sean agrees they should stay over since no one is home anyway, but Eugene tries to refuse, saying it's not necessary. Eugene insists they excuse themselves, but inwardly he knows he cannot miss this opportunity. The auntie asks Eugene his name, and he says Eugene, while Sean finds the whole situation really too much. Eugene reflects that this is the first time he has been inside such a place, asking about Hyunho's room. He observes Hyunho's room, noting it was an ordinary room, the kind with everyday life, normal dreams, and a happy family, as seen in movies. Eugene feels something deep because he longed for such a life so much that he doesn't understand it now. He thinks Hyunho, with his ordinary family, should be in this room, living happily, and regrets not standing by. Eugene thanks the auntie for the meal, especially the omelet, and then says now that Sean is gone, this is his chance. The auntie asks if he meant the rolled egg, and Eugene, wiping blood from his mouth, says he has a few questions if she doesn't mind. Eugene asks if she has any other family besides her son, like a husband. The auntie hesitates, saying Hyunho's father was needed by the heavens and she had to let him go. When Eugene understands this means he became a family member over there, she calls it a lovely way to put it. She then points out that her son couldn't become part of a family anywhere because a weak, useless child cannot be anyone's family. Eugene is shocked and asks what she is talking about, as the auntie claims a family is where you constantly prove your worth. If you don't prove it, you are just a hindrance that consumes resources, leading Eugene to reject this definition. The auntie vehemently says that is not what a family is like, Eugene, as he looks utterly confused. She asks if he finished eating, and Eugene asks if they can sleep in the living room since Hyunho's room is empty. The auntie suggests he sleep in Hyunho's room, but Sean insists the sofa is good enough for him. The auntie then tells the kid to sleep on the floor, and Sean is inwardly cursing that he has to sleep on the floor. Eugene finds the old woman strange for calling a useless kid her family and making faces at a stranger like him, when he hasn't proven anything. He remembers the man saying a useless child cannot become anyone's family, and the auntie saying that's not what a family is. Eugene demands to know what a family is, concluding that he has to prove himself and be a family member that someone needs. He is then shown grabbing a gun, resolving to take action to prove his worth. Eugene aims the gun, thinking he has to be a family member that someone needs, and then he fires. The final images show a hand reaching for a doorknob, and Eugene holding the gun, realizing this was the end of his decision. Sean looks down at Eugene, who is holding the gun, as the chapter ends on this tense moment. A person, seemingly determined to prove something, sneaks up on another individual who is asleep at a desk, holding a gun. The person with the gun reveals a fierce look, thinking they must become the family member someone needs. The sound of a click indicates the trigger was pulled, but nothing happened. The person with the gun opens the door, and it seems the intended target, Sean, is now awake and reaching for the doorknob. The young attacker glares intensely at Sean, who realizes the decision made by the kid. Sean looks down at the young boy and calls him kid. The kid insists he is just completing his mission, showing no hesitation. The kid threatens Sean with the gun again, telling him not to resist. The gun action results in a sound, showing the confrontation is ongoing. The kid is shocked the bullet didn't fire and asks Sean if he took the gun from Rachel earlier. Sean explains that he emptied the magazine while the kid was sleeping, dropping the bullets on the floor. Sean criticizes the kid for being too lax, pointing out that the weight difference from the missing bullets should have been noticeable. Sean calls the kid an amateur, making the kid curse in frustration. The kid attacks Sean with a knife after realizing his failure with the gun. The fight continues intensely with close combat and sharp movements. The kid lands a blow, demonstrating surprising strength despite his size. A loud sound marks the intensity of the struggle as the door seems to jam or break slightly. The fight escalates with powerful strikes between the two. Sean manages to knock the kid down, who is still clutching the knife. Sean is lying on the floor, perhaps pretending to be hurt, while telling the kid to calm down and be quiet. Sean silences the kid with a finger to his lips, maintaining control of the situation. Sean notices the kid's failed tactic, referring to him as a brat, as the kid seems to have used a tie as a trap. A close-up shows the tie wrapped around the kid's ankle, which Sean has broken free from. Sean lands a strong hit on the kid, throwing him across the room. The young kid is down, still trying to fight with the tie dangling from his foot. Sean kicks the kid away, then addresses him by name, saying, "Sean." Wait, the narration says Sean, but the context suggests he's talking to the kid. Maybe the kid's name is not Sean, or the context is shifting. The kid looks up intensely. Sean comments on the scary look the kid has. Sean seems to be regaining his composure after the fight. The kid attacks again, launching himself towards Sean. The kid manages a strike, aiming for Sean's face. Sean counters the attack, sending the kid flying backward again. The kid stands up, still holding the knife, and asks Sean if he is holding back. The kid demands a proper fight and lunges forward again. Sean agrees to fight properly, and both stand ready for another exchange. Sean uses his strength to overpower the kid in a grappling move. Sean throws the kid forcefully to the ground. A powerful kick lands, followed by another exchange of blows. The action is fast, with both boys grappling and hitting each other. Sean grabs the kid by the collar, telling him not to make noise and to get up. Sean looks down at the subdued kid and tells him they haven't even started yet. The young boy, now held up, questions if this is the difference between him and the legendary Sean of the Dead Mansion. Sean tells the kid to get up, saying his attacks are too obvious as the kid tries to attack again. The mother rushes in, shocked, asking what the two are doing and if they are fighting. Sean quickly denies fighting, claiming it's just a morning workout, which the mother seems to doubt. Sean uses the opportunity created by the interruption to pretend they were training, as the mother looks on. Sean interrupts the pretense, stating they are not fighting and claiming it's a morning workout, which the mother questions. Sean claims it is also a trick, while Eugene looks confused by the claim. Sean internally admits he cannot win the fight against the kid, especially if the mother is watching. The mother expresses concern that Sean might be bothering Eugene, but Sean laughs it off, saying he is just playing with him. Sean thinks that a head-on fight is impossible, then addresses Eugene. The mother tells Sean to not make fun of Eugene too much, mentioning between family. Eugene is struck by the word family and wonders if he is part of this family. Sean confirms that since they eat and sleep under the same roof, they are like family. Sean pats Eugene's head gently, confirming their family connection. The mother also gently pats Eugene's head, showing affection. Suddenly, there is a knock at the door as someone arrives early. Sean's mother asks who it is at this hour, while a figure is seen outside the door. Sean asks the visitor who they are, and the visitor responds politely, apologizing for the early visit. The visitor, a girl with glasses and braided hair, introduces herself as Mary, Eugene's sister. Mary explains she came to thank the mother for taking care of Eugene last night. Mary beams with a sweet smile, looking very friendly. She tells the mother she came to greet her personally, as Eugene's older brother Sean looks on. Sean asks his mom who is at the door, and she tells him it's Eugene's sister, Mary, probably here to pick him up. Sean questions this, having learned Eugene has a sister, and wonders why she came here. Mary confirms she is here to get Eugene, and in exchange for him, they guarantee the mother's safety. Mary reminds Sean that this was their promise, smiling somewhat menacingly. Sean confronts her about ordering a kid to kill, but Mary dismisses it as Rachel's order and points out that Sean caught the kid. Mary asks Sean to put away his knife, implying that he is still being aggressive. Mary smiles sinisterly, saying nothing will happen if Sean cooperates, and mocks his fear. Sean responds sarcastically to her threat, then Mary changes the subject to the failed mission. Sean asks Mary what she is talking about after she ruined his plan, and Mary implies she was looking for a chance to win over the family because she is an amateur. Sean rejects her excuse, calling it absurd, and warns her that the mission was not simple because Sean, the legend of the Dead Mansion, was guarding it. Sean tells his mom to go inside while he talks to Mary and Eugene. Mary apologizes to Eugene for ruining his mission, admitting her fault. She reassures Eugene that they have another mission lined up for him and suggests they leave now. Eugene simply agrees to leave. Mary and Eugene say goodbye to the family, with Eugene promising to bring him over again so the mother can cook for him. The mother happily agrees, saying she'll make him something delicious too. Eugene confirms he will bring him over again. The scene shifts to the principal's office, where someone is breaking bad news to a woman. The person informs the woman that they were supposed to discuss the perpetrators and punishments with the school violence committee, causing a delay. The person continues, stating the parents agreed to compensation and all perpetrators will be suspended. The person shows a file with pictures of the perpetrators and asks if it's better if she doesn't see them. Woman is shocked, pointing at a picture and asking why it's there. The person asks what she means, confused by her reaction. The woman looks shocked, holding up the photo and asking why Shin's picture is included. The chapter starts with the title card for Juvenile Law, Chapter 8, showing the team credits. Inside a grand, church-like building, someone standing before stained glass windows asks in shock how a situation went so wrong. The person, who seems to be a director, looks down at a phone on a table, addressing someone named Rachel, who has no excuse to give. Rachel, looking disheveled and holding a knife, admits to the director that she ordered Eugene to kill the old woman. Eugene, a small child, stands nearby as Rachel complains honestly that Eugene is just a useless child. Rachel continues, saying Eugene couldn't even follow a single order properly, but the director cuts her off, pointing out that Rachel is the one who cannot follow his orders. The director brings up the mission to retrieve Sean, causing Rachel to look puzzled, and the scene shifts to show the director looking stern while the child sits small on the floor. The director emphasizes his belief in promises, stating that only faith and trust should exist before the divine. The director passionately declares that only faith and trust must exist before God, as Rachel looks on, still sitting down. The director adds that everything else is heresy, then explains that because some children lack faith, they had to create the 3 principles as a way to control them. The director tells Rachel to remember the consequences of unrestrained, spontaneous actions, demanding if she understands, while Rachel is seen looking at her phone, possibly distracted. Rachel acknowledges the rules, orders, and promises are the absolute rules of Dead Mansion, but she asks about retrieving Sean, wondering if they are really giving up. The director dismisses her worry, saying there are other ways to retrieve Sean without touching the old woman directly, mentioning that Marie has already started an operation. The scene shifts abruptly to a school setting, where a student is confused by the tense atmosphere and asks if there is an exam today, getting no answers. This student, looking nervous, is confronted by another student who shows him a crudely photoshopped picture on a phone, asking Park Seon if this is what he is talking about. Seon demands to know where the picture came from, as the other student apologizes, admitting they were all wrong about Seon. The group claims that Joseph was actually being beaten by Seon and acting like Seon's lackey, and they also say Seon is friendly with gangsters. Someone among the accusers questions if things are going too far, while they also state that Seon ordered Joseph to crush the kid Hyunho, leaving Seon shocked. Seon denies everything, saying it is not true and he didn't do that. But the bully leader calls Seon cool and asks what he wants. The bully then asks Seon if he wants to end up like Hyunho, as Seon laughs slightly, suggesting he was holding back his hidden power. Seon challenges them to go outside so he can tell them the full story, then asks casually if they smoke, though he doesn't. Some students wonder why they asked about smoking, while others comment that they thought Park Seon wasn't that bad, noting that birds of the same feather flock together. The conversation shifts to the group chat where the photo was shared early in the morning, and someone confirms that they first dropped the photo and said a few things. It is mentioned that after that, whoever shared it just left the chat, leading Seon to wonder if it was a trick from Dead Mansion and for what purpose. Seon sighs, saying he has been exposed again and wanted to attend school quietly, worrying about finding another school to transfer to. Seon then sternly tells his newfound friends to keep it quiet and not let the matter spread further, indicating that he and we are a crew. The group confirms they are a crew, promising to do whatever Seon says as they look ready to follow his command. The focus shifts to a different location where an older woman is arguing with 2 adults outside the principal's office about Seon, claiming he is Hyunho's friend and there must be a misunderstanding. One of the adults shows the woman a picture, saying Seon is famous among children, and he also has testimony about him hanging out with Joseph. The adult cautiously states that, based on his experience, Seon seems to be the instigator, as they mention it was hard to contact Seon's parents. The adult suggests that Seon didn't receive proper family education and can easily go astray, advising the woman not to trust him much, hoping this calms the rumors. Back to Seon and his crew, Seon remarks that the others have a surprisingly naive side to them, wondering if they really fell for the trick. Sion then asks the girl, Marie, if she was behind the photo, and she replies, really? As Sion walks away from the group, Sion confronts Marie, saying he thought he was hiding well, but Marie points out that if he was trying to hide, he should have erased the coffee smell first. Marie then mentions that this kind of thing also happened in front of Hyuno's house last time, showing surprise that Sion can even catch the scent of someone else's coffee. Sion says he's feeling a bit upset and asks Marie what she wants, questioning why she's making things complicated for people. Marie retorts that Sion seemed to enjoy it a lot, quoting his earlier statement about dealing with adults, and then asks how he feels about her making him the top bully at that school. Sion stammers, denying he was excited, and asks if he wasn't already popular, but Marie says no, it's not that. Marie describes the cold and harsh gazes or the eyes filled with betrayal and contempt, and asks Sion if he didn't like it. Marie then asks about the photo again, asking if it was her doing and how well made it was, to which Sion replies that it was well made but surprised at how crude it was. Marie defends the photo, saying it can be crude given the tight schedule and limited resources this time, which Sion dismisses as excuses. Sion then angrily asks if Marie is out of her mind, questioning if she thinks she can just take out a gun whenever she wants, reminding her she was supposed to retrieve him. Sion shouts what if he gets hit and dies, but Marie calmly states he must be kidding because he can easily avoid it, which is the least she expects from him. Marie suddenly says die, and then amends it, saying it'd be better if you were discarded, her expression turning wild. Marie walks away into an alley, and Sion follows her, showing a determined look. Sion stops, looking down at Marie, who seems slightly distressed, and then Sion throws a hard punch at her. The fight continues with both of them grappling, Sion holding a weapon-like object, and Marie close to him. Sion lands a strong blow, sending Marie reeling back against a brick wall. Sion stands over the fallen Marie and asks if that is all she has, questioning if Dead Mansion has really died out. He then says he guessed she didn't expect something like this, and as Marie lets out a relieved sigh, Sion looks upset. Marie says that can't be true, while still lying on the ground beneath Sion, smiling creepily. Someone yells, Sion, what are you doing? As another voice asks what Park Sion is doing, telling him not to do that. The person who asked about Hyuno's friend is revealed to be Hyuno's mother, looking distressed at Sion, asking if it was really him who hurt her Hyuno. Someone confronts Parkshin, asking him what he is doing right now, clearly upset with his actions. The person questions Shin again about what he is doing and then turns to look at another figure who is lurking nearby. This concerned person tells Shin that he is not supposed to act this way, reminding him that he is supposed to be Hyuno's friend. Then, a smiling girl appears, and the person asks her if she really did something bad to their Hyuno. Shin is seen standing over the girl who is lying down, suggesting a fight or struggle just took place. Shin quickly denies the accusation, telling the woman that it is not what it looks like, and calls out Auntie. The woman, now looking energetic, runs toward Shin while he is still near the downed girl. Shin addresses the woman as Mary, asking what is happening, while Mary says she only came to ask something. Shin then urgently tells his mother not to listen to her. Someone shouts for Parkshin as he looks shocked and tense at the situation unfolding. Shin's mother tells Shin to just stand there quietly as she embraces Mary. Shin reluctantly agrees, muttering that he must follow his parents' orders. Mary starts explaining to the mother that after she took Eugene back, she noticed his body was bruised and he wasn't talking. Mary continues, saying that Eugene kept insisting that Shin was the one who hurt him. A flashback shows a different boy aggressively holding another, saying it's just morning exercise and a toy, suggesting abuse. Another man, sweating nervously, mentions that there was proof of the abuser hanging out with Joseph too, warning not to trust this kid too much. Mary explains that when she tried to ask the boy about what happened, he started hitting her for no reason, but Shin interrupts shouting that his mother is lying. Mary, now smiling slyly, points out that since they promised, they cannot directly hurt the old woman. Mary then suggests there is another way to deal with her, but Shin's mother pleads with her own mother to listen to her, claiming she made everything up. Shin looks distraught as his mother seems to be physically restraining him or being pushed back. The mother states that they just need her own son to disown Shin. She coldly tells Shin not to call her mother anymore, and then adds that there is something else. Shin is in shock, and his mother finishes by saying he should never come back. Mary confirms that everything is going according to plan, and then an authoritative woman appears, asking Shin what trouble he caused this time. The woman remarks that Shin is always a handful and says they will settle things back home, as Mary, now looking sharp at heels, prepares to leave with someone unseen. The authoritative woman addresses Shin as Sean, while Mary stands by, and Shin is left standing there. The woman sternly asks what the problem is with Shin, calling him a handful, and insists they are going back home. She tells Sean, "Let's go back home," as a man below, perhaps the director, expresses relief and thanks Mary. Sean looks stunned as the chapter title card flashes by, showing a close-up of a man wearing a necklace. The director praises Mary's playing, calling her the top strategist of the dead mansion. Mary humbly replies that she only did what she was ordered to do, while the director is thrilled that Sean is finally coming home, calling him the legend of the dead mansion. The director urgently tells Mary to come back quickly, and she agrees, then asks Sean if he likes what he is eating. Sean looks uncomfortable, accusing her of forcing him to eat with orders and complaining that her food preferences are weird. A man observes Sean eating, noting that he is following orders as expected, and tells him to eat everything. It is mentioned that the ownership has returned to the dead mansion, while Sean begs for some milk. A man in a wheelchair, heavily bandaged, is introduced, and he asks Sean how he likes the place he got for him. Sean replies it's not bad, but the bandaged man points out it's the most expensive penthouse around, and Sean says he recognizes the voice. The bandaged man declares he doesn't care how much he spends to catch this kid. Sean wonders aloud if he is seeing things, and the bandaged man reminds him of their deal, Sean's care in exchange for his son's safety. The bandaged man confirms he remembers the deal, stating it's just business and he can deal with other things as he pleases. He warns Mary that whatever she does, it must not involve the dead mansion, especially regarding killing that old woman, because the dead mansion promised not to touch her. Mary questions if he means Hyunho's mother, just as we see Hyunho's mother at a food stall ordering tteokbokki and fritters. The auntie agrees to prepare the food right away, and as Sean receives the order, he wonders if he can eat all of it. Someone else admires the food and asks for an order too, which the auntie agrees to prepare. The auntie then sadly murmurs that Shin is a bad kid who hurt her Hyunho like that. Sean notices the auntie is bleeding a lot from cutting something, but she insists she is fine and it will stop bleeding soon. The bandaged man says that it is good and not to worry about the aftermath, as one of his business partners will take care of it. The bandaged man gets a call and seems surprised, while the auntie is told to eat as much as she wants without worrying about money. The auntie suddenly asks where someone is going so quickly, exclaiming that her son is awake. In a hospital setting, Hyunho is awake but struggling to talk, being told not to push himself. He asks where he is and what happened before his coma. Hyunho recalls yelling at his mom even though it was his fault, and now feels he has to apologize and asks where his mom is. Someone confirms he is awake, and then a person is shown looking over him, while another person is told to halt the mission as the plan has changed. A furious woman declares she will take care of things herself because someone dared to kidnap her Sean. The chapter ends with a fierce close-up of the bandaged man and Sean being held by others, as the woman shouts that she will take care of them right in front of this bastard. The story starts near the White Tiger Job Center, where a girl with a slight head injury looks quite serious. She is seen sitting on a couch with the young boy next to her, waiting for someone. A woman wearing glasses arrives, holding a tray with drinks, asking if they were waiting. The girl tells her that she is slow and questions if the wait was worth it. The woman apologizes and explains that she was busy sorting out the mess created at the market and Manhwa Constructions HQ. She then offers hot chocolate to the little friend and tells him to drink slowly. The boy says yes and thanks her, while the girl points out that they pay her all that money for this kind of work, right? The girl suggests they should act more professionally, to which the woman agrees, but then points out the girl's own unprofessional mess. The woman asks if it wasn't unprofessional of the girl to make such a big mess without thinking about what happens after. The girl says that is what she thinks, and the woman laughs it off, saying she should have just stayed home. The boy looks upset, thinking he should have stayed at the house. The girl tells him to look at the reports because she took care of things according to them. The boy then asks why he is being served a drink in a paper cup, and the woman remembers that Manhwa Constructions did not want any compensation. The boy asks how she managed that, and the girl replies that they just had something both sides needed. The girl states that this is how a professional handles things, meaning whatever mess Manhwa Constructions makes is not their problem anymore. The girl softly adds that it would still be better if the boy was a bit more careful. The boy asks what she means, and she explains that as a professional he should deal with other professionals. She emphasizes that he shouldn't be dealing with delinquents, and then questions if Manhwa Constructions can really be trusted. The girl wonders aloud if they are worthy of being a business partner, and the boy looks deeply troubled. The boy seems angry and slams something down in frustration. Suddenly, the girl in the long coat kicks something or someone with great force, yelling about those damned bastards. A terrifyingly angry figure appears, fueled by rage. This figure, holding a submachine gun, furiously asks if they dared to kidnap her Sean. We see a quick shot of cars speeding on a road as the previously angry figure, who appears bandaged and wounded, comments on how he really can't believe this. The bandaged man mocks the person being held, saying he is useless without orders. He continues to taunt the captive, saying they are under dead mansion and can't do anything without orders, which he finds surprising. The bandaged man wonders if this is some kind of brainwashing, and then imagines something interesting. The captive man in the foreground looks intensely angry as the bandaged man's grip tightens on his hair. The bandaged man laughs sinisterly, saying he just imagined ordering someone to kill the old woman at the snack shop. He continues the dark fantasy, stating he would purchase the captive and order him to kill the old woman at the snack shop. The captive boy's face, gagged and terrified, is shown in the next panel. The bandaged man says that would have been really interesting to see, as he keeps a firm hold on the struggling boy. He tells the boy to calm down as he hasn't even started yet. The bandaged man threatens that soon enough, he will tear the old woman and her son into pieces right in front of the captive's eyes. He further states that the captive will only be able to sit and watch because he cannot act without orders. He tells the captive to just sit tight and enjoy the show, warning that the captive will be next. The bandaged man ominously reminds them that he said he would kill all of them. This section marks the end of one part and the start of the next, titled 10. Current affiliation with a graphic effect. The scene changes to a hospital at night where hands are carefully peeling an apple with a small knife. The person peeling the apple is near a young man lying in a hospital bed, and someone asks if he cut himself. The older woman peeling the apple smiles gently, saying it was just a little nick and nothing serious, while the patient looks slightly concerned. The young man insists he is fine and that the doctor said he should move around, but the woman is stubborn and says she will go ask for bandages, telling him to just sit still. The young man insists it's fine and that the doctor told him to move, so the woman finally agrees to go look for a bandage and tells him to stay put. The woman smiles, noting the young man is stubborn just like his father, and then leaves the room. The room becomes dark after she leaves, and the young man wonders why it is so dark and calls out, asking if anyone is there. As the young man looks around the dark area, the older woman's face appears filled with terror, realizing someone else is present. The other man quickly attacks the woman, and a dark figure declares, "That's one down." The attacker tells his partner to put her in the car first, and then he comments on how interesting it is that the patient really cannot do anything. The man with the glasses asks the patient what took him so long, and the bandaged man replies that he is sorry for taking time. The bandaged man, sitting in a wheelchair, tells the patient that he finally gets to see what he looks like and asks if he is Hyunho. Hyunho, the patient, looks confused and asks who he is, prompting the bandaged man to pause before announcing that he is Joseph's father. Joseph's father expresses regret that Joseph did some bad things to Hyunho, saying it must have hurt a lot. He explains that this is why he told Joseph that efficiency is key. By leaving Hyunho half alive, they have to do the work again. Hyunho looks shocked by this revelation. The injured man realizes that the words of the White Tiger Job Center girl were right, and he shouldn't have worked with those bastards. The bandaged man, Joseph's father, then focuses on the girl from before, calling her Sean and accusing her of betraying Dead Mansion. The long-haired woman appears, looking fierce, and asks the man holding Sean if he likes hugging her that much as she lunges forward with the blade. Joseph's father orders his men to get the kid first so they can continue as planned. The girl fights back fiercely, and the bandaged man asks where she thinks she is running off to, stating he will ask her again. He demands to know where Sean is, questioning the number of enemies like they are roaches. She notices they brought interesting tools, so she decides to take out her own tools too. The girl pulls out a gun, taunting them to come at her. She yells at the remaining men, calling them you shitty roaches, and asks if they want to play with guns. The remaining men recoil in pain and fear as the girl lands a powerful blow, surrounded by the sound of impacts and blood splatter. The captured boy struggles, and the girl, with glowing red eyes, screams about Sean, asking if they dare betray Dead Mansion. The bandaged man in the wheelchair observes her arrival, saying she really came. The girl attacks with a blade, leaving a trail of blood as she fights the remaining men. She continues to attack ferociously, taking down several opponents. As the fight continues, some of the remaining men manage to subdue the girl momentarily. They celebrate having captured her, but the bandaged man interrupts, telling them to get the kid first and continue the plan. As the bandaged man is being moved, the girl, now held down, asks the man holding her if he likes hugging her that much. She smiles wildly as she stabs the man holding her in the neck. The man groans in pain, and the girl keeps fighting, quickly taking down another attacker. She knocks out another man while the remaining enemies look stunned. The girl is ready to face the rest, who are shocked, and she asks them what they are doing as they follow orders to get Sean. One of the men struggles to carry the boy while the bandaged man is quickly wheeled away. The girl watches the bandaged man flee in his wheelchair. She manages to stab another attacker while asking where they think they are running off to, saying she will ask again. She demands to know where Sean is, looking powerful and surrounded by the defeated men. The man in glasses appears, looking composed, holding a cigar, and says, "You've come." More men appear behind him, surrounding the girl. The girl, with glowing red eyes, looks at them and says huh, while looking down at the downed men. She stands amidst the defeated men, some holding knives and weapons. She confronts the large group, asking why there are so many of them and if they are roaches. She notices they brought out tools like a chainsaw, which she finds interesting. She tells them that if they brought tools, then she should take out hers too, preparing for a fight. She pulls out a firearm, ready to engage. The girl shouts for them to come at her, firing her weapons and taking down several attackers while calling them "you shitty roaches." The remaining men scream in pain and terror as they fall around her. The girl stands over the defeated men, holding her gun, looking calm despite the chaos. The leader with glasses mocks her, saying, "Haha, so you want to play with guns, huh?" While his men hold the captured boy. The boy, still gagged, looks determined as the man in glasses asks if that means she will kill her. The boy's eyes flash and the girl prepares to shoot as a loud sound erupts. The girl unleashes a barrage of bullets, hitting several men while the boy looks on. She continues firing, and one of the enemy's weapons is destroyed by her actions. The man in glasses, now aiming his own gun at her head, coldly tells her he will be aiming for her head next. The captured boy rips his gag off and asks the man in glasses if he really thinks he will kill her. The man in glasses looks intense as the boy prepares to move. The boy explodes into action, punching the man in glasses hard in the face. The man in glasses looks shocked, unable to believe what happened, and stutters that there were no orders. The boy reminds him, asking if he forgot that he is currently under Dead Mansion. The boy continues to stare down the shocked leader, explaining that he just threatened to kill a Dead Mansion trainer. The boy declares that according to the third principle, he classifies them all as a threat to Dead Mansion, and the girl looks on with her eyes glowing red, perhaps recognizing him as Sean. The boy states that he will break through the current situation as he moves toward the remaining enemies. The chapter ends with a close-up of the boy's determined face, revealing his official identification details: Dead Mansion Special Training Multipurpose Weapon Project Good Child, code name Sean, Parkshin, current affiliation Dead Mansion.